I'm proud of all my children. Except the loser, my dad shouted across the table, in front of everyone. My heart stopped. The laughter faded. Every eye turned toward me. And in that one moment, I felt like the ground beneath me just gave out. If this story hits you hard already, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because what happens next will leave you absolutely speechless. Nobody said a word. The clink of a fork dropping was the only sound in the room. I stared at him, trying to understand if he'd really just said that. My mom's smile vanished. My younger brother froze mid-bite. My cousins looked down awkwardly at their plates. And me? I got up and walked out. Not a word. Not a tear. Just silence. And rage building in my chest like a storm. But here's what they don't know. That wasn't the first time. My dad had always had a weird way of showing tough love, except it never felt like love. I thought I was used to it. But this was different. This was public. This was personal. And I knew I couldn't ignore it this time. Outside, the cold air slapped my face. I walked, no destination. My phone buzzed, text from my sister. Come back, he didn't mean it. Please don't cause a scene. Cause a scene? He just humiliated me in front of 30 people and I'm the problem? But here's where it gets interesting. Just 2 blocks away, I saw someone I hadn't seen in 10 years. He was standing near a vending machine, tapping away at his phone. Tall, confident, the same intense look in his eyes. My childhood best friend, Ayan. The one who vanished without saying goodbye. The one my dad always compared me to. What were the odds? And here's the twist. He didn't just randomly appear. He knew I'd be at that reunion. He planned it. Because what he told me next? It flipped everything I believed about my family upside down. What do you think Ayan is hiding? Comment your guess before you scroll. And if your family's ever made you feel like the outsider, this story might just be your revenge. I waited 10 years for this, Ayan said without even saying hello. But I didn't think it would be this bad. I blinked. You saw that? He nodded. Every word. I was standing by the window. I knew your dad still had that thing about proving a point. But this was cruel. I didn't know whether to feel embarrassed or angry that he had witnessed it. Why are you even here, Ayan? You disappeared without warning. No texts. No calls. And now you just show up out of nowhere? He hesitated. Because I found out something. About your family. And I didn't know how to tell you. There it was. The first real twist. I thought he came to comfort me. Turns out, he came with information. And not just gossip-level stuff. Family-changing stuff. I leaned in. What are you talking about? He took a deep breath. You know how everyone always said your dad built his business from scratch? The whole self-made man story? Yeah, it's not true. The startup capital, the investors, the real connections, it all came from your mom's side. But your mom was forced to sign over everything to your dad, just to protect you and your siblings. I froze. That's not possible. He nodded. It gets worse. The agreement? It had a condition. If any of the kids turned against him publicly, he'd cut them out, entirely, legally, financially, everything. Now it made sense. Why Mom never spoke up. Why my siblings kept their heads down. Why I was always the loser. Because I was the only one who pushed back. But then Ayan dropped the real bombshell. He tried to make your mom look unstable. Filed private court papers. 2 years ago to put her under guardianship. Quietly. I only found out because my cousin works at the firm that handled it. My knees almost buckled. And tonight was the final test. he said. If you reacted, if you caused a scene, he'd use it as proof that you're unstable too. That's when I realized this wasn't just family drama. This was a setup, and if I stayed silent, I'd lose everything. But if I spoke up, I'd lose my entire family. What would you do if you found out your dad was using legal traps to control you? Drop it in the comments if you're ready for what happens next, because in the next part, Fatima makes a decision that changes everything. I'm done being scared of him, I said finally. My voice wasn't loud, but it shook, not from fear, but from years of staying silent. Ayan watched me closely, almost like he was waiting to see if I'd back down. But I didn't. For the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I had to do. Fatima, he said carefully, if you go through with this, you need to know something. He'll try to destroy you. Your name, your job, your reputation. He's done it before. I looked him dead in the eyes. Then let him try. We drove back to the house, but not through the front. Ayan led me around the side, to the back entrance, the one the catering staff had used. The reunion was still going. Music, laughter, fake smiles and fake toasts. And then I saw her. My mom, alone in the kitchen, washing dishes while everyone else laughed in the other room, like she wasn't the reason any of this was possible, like she was just invisible. I walked in. She turned. Fatima, please don't start something. Right now. Not tonight. But I wasn't the one who started it. He did. From the living room I could hear him, my dad, making another funny speech about success and how some people just don't have what it takes. That's when I stepped out, into the center of the room. Dead silence hit like a slap. I have something to say, I said clearly. And you're all going to hear it. My dad turned, smirking. Oh? The loser found her voice? Yeah, I nodded. And you're going to wish she hadn't. Then I pulled out the folder Ayan had handed me earlier. Legal documents. Proof. Everything. I read every line out loud. The fake contracts, the hidden assets, the power of attorney papers he forged behind my mother's back. Gasps echoed. Chairs shuffled. My brother whispered something I couldn't hear. And my mom? She just stood there, tears running silently, and then my dad laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a guilty laugh, but the kind of laugh that makes your skin crawl. Wow, he said slowly. So you finally grew a backbone. Took you long enough. Then he pointed at everyone. You think this changes anything? I made this family. You want to turn them against me? Try it. But something shifted. My uncle stood up, then my cousin. Even my little sister walked across the room and stood beside me. My dad's smile cracked. Just a little, but enough. Enough to know the war had started. What would you do if your entire life was based on a lie your father built? Comment truth wins if you believe Fatima just took the first step in breaking a generational curse. But what happens when secrets get even darker than you thought? Because what Fatima finds in her mother's locked drawer will turn everything upside down. The night didn't end with that confrontation. It only lit the match. Everyone left in awkward silence, like they had just watched a building collapse but didn't want to admit they were inside it too. I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. My mom sat at the edge of her bed, staring at the floor like she was calculating every year she had given up. My siblings whispered among themselves. Ayan stayed on the couch, guarding the folder like it was gold. And I was drawn to something that hadn't made sense before. A drawer. Locked. Taped shut from the inside. Inside my mom's old wardrobe. She'd Always told us it was just full of old clothes and photographs. But that night, something felt off. Like there was another version of her story hidden inside it, one she was too scared to say out loud. And now I needed to know. I asked her for the key. She hesitated, then slowly walked to her closet, pulled out a small black box from under her scarves, and handed it to me without a word. Her hands trembled. I unlocked it, the click loud in the stillness of the room. Inside were documents, dozens of them. Letters, birth certificates, bank slips. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A hospital record, with my name on it. Dated 1 year before I was even born. I pulled it closer, scanning fast, trying to make sense of it. It wasn't about me. It was about another child. A daughter. Stillborn. Also named Fatima. My breath caught in my throat. I looked up at my mother. "What is this?" She didn't answer right away. Just stared at the floor like she'd left her soul somewhere she couldn't retrieve it. Then she said it. Quietly. "You were never supposed to know." The room spun. "You're not the first Fatima," she said, her voice cracking. "You're the second. He made me name you after her. Said we had to pretend it never happened, that no one would understand, that it would make the family look cursed." I couldn't speak. She looked at me then, really looked at me. And in that moment, the weight of her silence, her obedience, all those years, it crashed down like thunder. He said if I ever told you, he'd make sure none of you ever saw me again. So many questions flooded in. Who was the first Fatima, really? How did she die? And why had he kept it a secret so viciously? But before I could ask anything else, Ayan walked in. "There's more," he said, holding up his phone. "You won't believe who just messaged me." He showed me the screen, a name I hadn't heard since I was 13. Taha. My father's estranged brother, the only person who had ever stood up to him publicly. His message? "If Fatima finally knows, tell her to meet me, before he finds out I'm talking." What do you think Taha knows that could blow this story wide open? Drop your theories below. And if you think this family is twisted now, wait until you hear what Taha reveals. The next evening, I stood outside a dimly lit motel room on the outskirts of the city. The air felt heavier than usual, like it was holding secrets. Ayan stayed in the car, just in case things went south. I knocked once. The door opened slowly. Taha looked older, tired, like life had tried to break him but failed halfway. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just nodded and let me in. There were no formal greetings, just silence and the kind of tension you only feel when truth is about to punch a hole through everything you thought was real. "I knew this day would come," he said finally. "You were always the fire your father couldn't control." "Tell me everything," I said. He pulled out an old leather folder, similar to the one Ayan had shown me. But this one was thicker. Darker. "Your father didn't just cut me off because of business disagreements," he said. "It was because I tried to expose what he did to your sister, the first Fatima." My stomach turned. "She died in childbirth." "No, that's what he made everyone believe," Taha said, coldly. "She didn't die. She was born with a rare neurological condition. He said she was defective, that she'd ruin the family's image, so he institutionalized her. Told your mother she passed away. But she didn't. She's alive." The room tilted. My hands clenched. "She's alive?" I repeated, barely, whispering. "She was kept in a private facility for years under a false name. I tried to get custody. But your father, he used his political ties, his lawyers, and buried it. Your mother broke after that." That's why she became silent. That's why she stayed. Taha placed a worn photo on the table. A girl, maybe in her early 20s, with soft eyes and a quiet smile. My sister. The real first Fatima. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just decided, enough. 1 week later, the stage was set. I had every document, every testimony, every signature. I gathered statements from the facility, photos, doctor reports, even video footage that Taha had risked his freedom to smuggle out. My mom stood beside me. My siblings, too. Even the ones who once stayed silent now looked ready to burn the whole empire down. And then we went live, not just in court, but online. A full expose. Everything. The forged contracts, the abuse, the institutional cover-up, the lies. Published on a site Ayan built and pushed across social media with one title: The Man Who Built His Empire. By burying his daughter. It exploded. Within 24 hours, it hit national headlines. Sponsors dropped him. His board resigned. Protests formed outside his offices. Investigators reopened files long thought closed. And the best part? The first Fatima, my sister, was rescued and brought home. When my father tried to deny everything in front of the media, I walked up, looked into the cameras, and said 5 words that ended it all. Your legacy ends with lies. That clip went viral. Over 87 million views. Because it wasn't just about one family. It was about control, silence, image, and what happens when you finally break the cycle. And for the first time in my life, I felt it. Peace. Not because he fell, but because we stood. If this story made your heart race, tell us in the comments. What would you have done in Fatima's place? Share this with someone who needs to be reminded. The truth doesn't destroy families. Silence does.